Steve once said, if I can't work, I feel terrible. Well, he must feel terrific then. He is back at the Williamstown Theater. It's a musical festival in Massachusetts, a custom every summer, and it's a play called The Rover. He's finished a movie with Kathleen Turner, and just recently was here to talk with Joan. They talked about his acting, and for the fourth time, his role as the Man of Steel, just hitting the screen in Superman 4.
This time you co-wrote. Is it any different with your kind of stamp, your own little stamp on it?
Well, I guess so. It makes it official, so that when you come up and say, excuse me, I have an idea, they don't look at you like you're a pain. I think I've always been involved. Let's try this way, let's try that way. But it felt to me that in order to come back into Superman again, I wanted to make it something I really cared about and not just be rented to, show up and do the work.
Well, it's an added responsibility, though, one that you wanted. Does it make it easier for you as you're actually doing the job, or a little scarier, or what? Well,
the thing that's strange is when you write something, though, you still have no control over how they shoot it, or where they shoot it, or what the budget is, or whatever. So there's a reward, and there's also a frustration, because once you have the ideas, you're partly responsible for them. And I worked with two wonderful writers, Larry Connor and Mark Rosenthal, and they really did the screenplay. But we have all these things that we imagine, and then, of course, inevitably, they'll come up to you and say, yeah, well, where you wanted the 600 horses on the thing, well, we've got 30, or whatever, So there's those problems, too, that I guess if you really want control of a movie, you've got to do it like Michael Douglas, is that you produce it and then you star in it.
Do you want to do that?
Sounds good, yes.
Yeah, to really get control over it?
Well, it's tough, because the studios are in a bind now.
Yeah.
Is that they want quality, or they say they want quality, but quality costs. And teenagers, a lot of times, will not... don't know the difference sometimes. They're sensation seekers, so they're starting to put out movies and they're not producing them as well as they used to.
And they also want that leading man. They want the guy out there with the... every time you're described, it's always movie star handsome. How do you relate to your looks and what kind of a part they've played in your success?
It's a double-edged thing. I relate gratefully, because I think this is a culture where good-looking people have an easier ride in life. It's just, what our values are. So I'd be a fool if I didn't tell you that, yes, I benefit from that. I'm glad that I'm not, look like roadkill. But on the other hand, there's another thing, which is that's not who you are, no matter what your appearance is.
And it can also work against you, because they say, oh, he's just a good-looking guy, he's not a good actor, because that's the double-edged sword, too, that you have to constantly almost fight, almost kind of rebut.
Well, it's also an assumption that if you're physically strange in some way, that you're therefore more complex and more interesting, and there's more going on inside you. I had a discussion about this with Richard Dreyfuss, as a matter of fact. Not that he's an authority on the subject, but he said, if your nose was on sideways, they'd think you're more talented. And it's just true of anybody, because sympathy automatically goes to somebody that people aren't threatened by it. It feels more like, yes, like Joe next door. But there's something about the leading man, which is people admire, but they also resent, because there's a kind of an ideal of perfection being held up. People don't always appreciate that.
You have one more kind of image added to you, though, the way Americans perceive you, and that is this all-American boy. The all-American boy image. How true is that of Christopher Reeve?
Only partially. Only partially. I don't know. I think the all-American image, though, is pretty liberal today. I think that all-American is, there's a lot more license to it than there used to be.
But you once said, you said, I'm from another time, and definitely not from now. What do you mean by that?
Well, I think that I perhaps would like to think of myself as being more romantic than is really cool today. I'm a little cornier than is perhaps the style. I think the 30s and 40s were a great time. You see, where I think a great love scene is witty dialogue on a summer's evening on a balcony, and where there's tension in the air, rather than just graphic scenes of people, hitting the hay. Because I think that's what movies do now. But our forebears, the Cary Grants and the Jimmy Stewarts and those kind of actors, and the actresses they worked opposite, they had such wonderful sexual tension, and I like those kind of movies.
You say you have a 10-year plan.
Mm-hmm.
You've said it a number of times in articles. Do you really plan out your life and you get your goals set?
No. I had a 10-year plan. I gave it up. I rescinded it. No. And no, the plan is much more to live in the moment than that. I have in the past been a sort of control freak. I said, okay, I'm going to do this and this and this and this, and I'm going much more by a system of follow intuitively what I want to do and just, listen to what's going on in here.
Christopher, good to see you again. Good luck on Superman 4, though.
Thank you.